Hey everybody, I'm Dawn and welcome back to Arc Reviews. It is December, which means it is ARC time because I have pretty much read all of the 2022 books that I want to read or any other books that I want to read that are before 2022. And so I kind of read 2023 books. I've been reading a lot of ARCs this month, and so there will be more ARC reviews for you to enjoy. You're welcome. And today's ARC is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. I, as always, did not read the synopses for this book. I am going to say that it is magical realism. I'm not quite sure if I will call it fantasy. I'm going to say it's magical realism. And it is about, I'm going to be very vague because with magical realism, you can't be too detailed because it's a lot of spoilers. These are the type of books where it's more fun if you as the reader are reading the interesting things for yourself. So, very vague description. It is about indigo. And indigo, nope, it's not about indigo. It's about the bridegroom. I don't even think he had a name. He have a name? It is about this character called the bridegroom. And he's just kind of lost. He does not really want to live in this world anymore. He suffered a lot of trauma and he just wants to be a fairy and live in fairyland. And he meets Indigo, a woman who is promising to take him to fairyland. So he's like, okay. And they get married, but she also tells him that in order for us to live happily ever after, you cannot ask me questions about my past. And he says, okay. But then eventually he starts to get curious and he starts asking questions. Then he gets answers that he was not expecting. And the book pretty much hinges on these big ass secrets. Boy, did I want to know those secrets immediately. I gave this book a 3. And it is official. And I apologize to either of my friends who may be watching this, Ashley or Elise, who love Roshani Chokshi. They love her writing style. They love her books. I am not one of those people who I do not like her writing style. I have had to come to the realization that I just don't like this woman's writing style. And that's okay. That's okay. First of all, this book is only 300 pages. It's a very short book, but it felt like 500 pages because Roshani wants to be a lyrical writer so badly. She's trying too hard to be, in my opinion, V. Schwab. I think V. Schwab is a very poetic, flowery, metaphorically beautiful writer. And I think that Roshani is trying to be that, but it's coming across as try hard. Whereas for Schwab, it comes across as authentic because I believe she was a poet and it shows. And sometimes Roshani would say some things where you're like, wow, that was deep. And sometimes she would say some stuff and I'd be like, girl, just write your damn story. Stop trying to be cute. Just write your story. What you trying to say, woman? Damn. Let me see if I can find some examples. Because I took some notes. And it was so frustrating that I just started skipping. I'm like, oh, she's going to sit here and describe this rock for 2 paragraphs. Skip. So one of the lines that I highlighted as was, don't tell me you'll leave me for the crime of occasional instances of mortality. What? So in other words, don't tell me you're going to leave me because I'm asking too many questions. Just say that. Try hard. Here's another one. Though I couldn't stop thinking about the exquisite temperature of the hair. First of all, does hair have a different temperature than other hair? And secondly, if it does, who notices that? Who is running their hands through their lover's hair and was like, oh, your hair is a nice 80 degrees. What does that even mean? And then she would have a good line like this one. When Indigo was in one of her moods, she might as well have been made of smoke for all that I could hold. Like, that's a good line. But we only need one of those per chapter. I don't need one on every page. Try hard. So I had a big problem with her writing. And that's what I mean by Roshani Chokshini's writing style is not for me. The second issue is the pacing. Indigo is a very mysterious character. Actually, let me rewind. The second issue is Indigo. Indigo's mysterious, and that inherently makes her an interesting character. Mystery is fascinating. I was fascinated by her because I don't really know much about her. And when you have a character that is mysterious like her, she needs to have some agency. There needs to be something else to her that makes her interesting and maintain her interestingness. However, that doesn't happen with Indigo. So, oh boy, the bridegroom, once again, I don't even think he has a name, he falls in love with her because initially she's mysterious, and that's why he like wants to like date her. Okay. But as the book progresses, why does he continue to be with her? Because she's hot and she has a lot of money and she likes to have sex a lot? And then there's another character who likes her a lot. Why? I can see the initial attraction. She's beautiful, she's wealthy, you're like, she's mysterious, interesting. But as your relationship evolves, what is so great about her? Nothing. She has no personality. She has no personality. I mean, zero. She has nothing going for her. Yet these characters are like, oh my God, I'm so in love. I'm so drawn to her. I can't quit her. I love you. Why? She's like Wednesday Addams with no personality. Just like none. Which leads me to the second issue, Indigo, and the pacing and evolvement of Indigo. So when you have a book where the main character is mysterious, as the book progresses, we should start to learn more about said character. Like, certain things should be happening to make us understand her, and we are still supposed to be like interested. It's supposed to keep us. But when you have a book that is just like, oh, she said something mean to me, but I still love her. Oh, she said something mean to me, but I still love her. Oh, she did something mean to me, but I still love her. Like, they just keep saying, I love her, I love her, I love her. But she's not really showcasing why they love her. What is about her that makes, like I said, things should happen for the other characters for us to understand why they love her. For us to understand why she's an interesting person. To keep us engaged into her story. And it just became repetitive. And I'm just like, I just need to know the secret already. I don't care. I just need to know that. By 50%, I was over it. I almost DNF'd, but I wanted to know the secret so badly. I just had to keep going. And I knew that I had to read like the majority of the words. Like, I couldn't skip too much because I knew I was going to miss something important. So I kind of had to really read it. And I'm just like, I just want to know the secret. And I found the secret. I read the secret. The secret was okay. Like, it wasn't like a big letdown or anything like that. I did not see it coming, which is good. But I just wish the middle bits kept me more engaged so that I would have kept with it and liked Indigo as much as they did to want to continue to like actually pay attention and care about the book. What this book does well is the imagination of it. Like I said, it is magical realism. So these are real people, but there is a hint of magic in it. And I like that part of the book. I enjoy magical realism because it tends to be creative with the plot. It's not something that I've read before, and I appreciate that. And this book does it. This book has some very interesting themes. Trauma is one of them. And I thought that it did a good job. If the pacing had been better, or the execution of Indigo had been better, this book had potential to be like a 4.5. But because of the execution of Indigo was the problem. She was the problem. Because of that, I had to give it a 3. But this book set itself up to do wonderful things. Like, this book could be a great book discussion book because of all the things that it's hitting on, and I will go into it in the spoiler edition. But it is really going there. It is really trying to say something. But Indigo kind of stifled it. And I'm mad because she did that. And by Indigo, I mean Roshani Chokshi. It's also a very vague book. Like, I don't know what year it's supposed to be. I don't know where it is set. At first, I thought it was set in Washington State. But then they say she went to North America. And I'm like, that is North America. Like, I never knew where I was. I don't even know if the cities were real. Did they use cell phones? He said landline at one point. But I mean, cell phones have been around for a while. So I don't know if it was the beginning of cell phone use, if it's now. And that was the problem. It just kind of added to the whole mystery of the book. There's a house, the House of Dreams, I think was the name of the house. And, you know, I like the house. The house was a character. I think the character of the house could have been a little bit better. It could have been a better character, but, you know, it was nice to imagine a really old Gothic looking castle. I do recommend it. I do think that if you like magical realism and you like thematic books, I think you will like it. I do recommend it. Just beware that it is a little slow. And Indigo, her development in certain places could be better. I think that's it. Like, I can't say too much because, once again, with magical realism, the fun of it is for you to read it and to discover things and to come up with your own themes. And I'm not going to tell it to you because then what is left for you to discover? So I'm going to leave it at that. But I will go into a spoiler edition because there's lots to talk about in the spoiler edition, which will start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Well, the obvious spoiler is that Azure is Indigo. I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming at all. And so I think Roshani did a really good job of not being predictable with her. Like, there were clues. There were hella clues. But I wasn't really paying attention to those clues because I did not think that there was a plot twist. I just thought it was about Indigo. And the guy, I don't think he had a name. I know names were important to the story, but they just kept calling him Bridegroom. I don't think he had a name, which is also very interesting. Because at one point, Indigo was like, give me your name, now you're mine. And so because if he does give his name, it would be in chapter 1. Let me go back and see. But names being important is a very strong theme. And I don't think that he gave his name. But at one point I'm reading it and I'm like, does he give his name? No. If he has a name, I don't know. If you read this book, let me know. All right. So yeah, Azure was Indigo the whole time. But I thought that was great. It wasn't cartoonish. It wasn't ridiculous. It wasn't over the top. I thought it was done well. I thought the revelation of it, the reveal was like, oh shit, didn't see that coming. Her behavior was odd though. And I think that's where good book discussion would come into place as to she kind of turned into Indigo. She wasn't initially like that as a young girl. And I don't know how much time had passed between when they were 17 to when maybe late 20s, maybe. So maybe 10 years or so has passed. But over the years, she basically became Indigo, which was just cold. And, oof. So a couple of things that we liked about this book was the magical realism. And was it actually magical realism? So by that I mean the bridegroom. He always dreamt, or he dreams of having a brother. And his brother, one day he goes to his mom, he's like 7, and he goes, "Where's my brother?" And his mom was like, "What are you talking about? We don't have a brother." And he's like, "No, I remember having a brother. I remember playing with a little boy," but he's not quite sure. And so he wants to like find the in-between of like fantasy and real world, basically the wardrobe and the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He's trying to find Narnia to figure out if he had a brother. Was he delusional? What happened? Come to find out, his father killed his brother. He beat them both, but he beat the young one to death. And I think he tried to, him and his mom, both tried to forget about it, to kind of help them get through this horrible trauma of losing this little boy. And that's where I'm like, in addition, let's move on to Azure. Azure is basically being sexually harassed by her stepfather. And her mother is jealous of her. Oh, God. That is so fucked up. She's jealous of a 10-year-old. And just all through her life. And I like the way Chokshi wrote it, because she didn't write it like, it wasn't like shock value. We did not really see him touch her, but it was the way he tried to talk to her, like, "Oh, your hair is beautiful, and let me help you with your dress." And, like, "Oh, this necklace is for your mommy. Don't you want to see it on you?" So he could get next to her. It was just like, oh my God, yuck. But she wrote it so well. It was so hard to read, even though nothing happened. It was so hard to read, and she just ran away to this girl's house. And I think part of the allure of Indigo, as far as I was saying, why do they love her so much? I think Indigo was alluring to Azure is because she was a safe haven. Tati was there, and Tati was kind of like another mother figure for her. There was no man harassing her. She felt safe there. And then Indigo was promising her the other world. We can go visit the other world. And they would go to this like little turret, and they would just like play in the other world. And I think it was an escape of her real life, of this man who was trying to rape her, and a mother who was not going to protect her and was actually jealous of her. Her mom would leave the door open so she could hear them have sex, as to say, "He wants me and not you." Oh my God. I love that type of writing. I love that type of thematic writing. And I hate that the pacing of Indigo was so bad. This book was set up to be great. Like, that is great. And oh my God, just the way all of that was written was just great. And then when the stepfather's name is Jupiter, when Jupiter finally left for a couple of months, and the mom was just like, "Oh, I can breathe. We can have dreams again. And he just came back and just sucked the life out of him again. It was just like, oh my God. So we have this shitty boyfriend, husband, father. And then we have the bridegroom's father, who beat all of them. So we have these just shitty husbands as a main theme here. But going back to the whole magical realism thing, I don't know if there was an other world. I don't know if it was just her imagination, because she was just trying to cope, and getting to the other world was just trying to get away from where she was in that house, and to be in a fairy tale was therapeutic for her. Or if there was an actual other world, I don't know. But that's the good thing about magical realism, is that you really don't know. You kind of have to suspend belief, and you have to come up with your own conclusion. It's up to you. If you think there is another world, great. If you think that it's just a metaphor for dealing with trauma, great. There is no wrong answer. And I love that. I love that in fiction. But Indigo just bothered me so much. She was so manipulative to Azure. Oh my God. Like, immediate red flags where she like lost her passport on purpose. And then Azure was just like, she does not want me to go. She was abusive. Indigo was another abusive person, and Azure could not see it. But I almost think it was like the lesser of the two evils. Azure or Indigo, I can kind of protect myself. I cannot protect myself against this man and my mother. So I think she just chose the lesser of the two evil, which was Indigo and her manipulation, and how she like banged the guy that she liked. She was like, I did it for us. Oh God. She was just so manipulative. Oh my God. This girl was horrible. She was horrible. And that I kind of liked. I liked Indigo in Azure's chapters because she progressed. And I didn't say that in the spoiler-free edition because I didn't want the viewer to know that Azure was another character. I just wanted it to be about the bridegroom. I didn't want the person watching to know that there was another character. But Indigo was great in Azure's chapters because she actually evolved. Like, she grew and became a horrible person as chapters went on. Whereas in the bridegroom's character, which was more, there was no evolvement. I didn't like the bridegroom's characters. He just kept repeating, I have this dream about this boy. I have this dream about my brother. I want to get to my brother. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, dude, I need you to talk about something else. Nothing really happened in his chapters. And because he had so many more chapters than Azure, it was boring. But if it had not have been for his chapters, honestly, if the book had just been about Azure and Indigo and more of them and less of the bridegroom, I did like the whole trauma with the brother and how he was trying to keep him alive because you know, he wasn't quite sure if he had a brother or not, and he didn't want to be in this world anymore. He wanted to be in fairy tales. Like, I liked all of that, but I wish there was just less of him and his time with Indigo because it just wasn't written well. Thank you for joining me for the spoiler-free and the spoiler edition of The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, and I will catch you in the next arc review. Bye-bye!